about call to order the Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission for Monday, June 9th, 2025. I'm missing the prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the beautiful day, the sunshine, the green grass. Help us to slow down a bit and just enjoy and appreciate your splendor and all the gifts you give us. Thank you for all the people that came. Please help them get home safely. Thank you for your son, Jesus Christ. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go Pacers. All right.
All right, on to
Roll call. Yep.
Dr. Jerry Hash,
Here.
Tom Kornman,
Here.
William Ellis,
Here.
Carl Thurman,
Here.
Trevor Sager, I am here. I'll be your secretary this evening.
Thank you.
And Larry DeMoss.
Here.
All righty. So I guess our first piece on the agenda is approval of the minutes from May 27th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right. Dr. Jerry Hash,
Yes. Approved.
Tom Kornman,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Carl Thurman,
Yes.
Trevor Sager, yes.
We good?
Yep.
Okay. So next topic is the resolution to clarify legal description and parcel numbers for the downtown EDA. Is this what we have here?
It is, but I'd like to back up for a second.
Okay.
Because there was a document that was distributed by Baker Tilly last week that we didn't get the chance to get to you in time for the meeting. But essentially, this is a letter to all the overlapping tax units that is due. Every redevelopment commission by June 15th every year has to identify what taxes, if there's any excess assessed value that's going to be allocated to the overlapping taxing units by June 15th every year, and it's the auditor's job to make sure that gets done. So the auditor contacted the town, and Baker Tilly put together a letter, which I will read in its entirety into the record. This is in reference to the riverfront allocation and west side allocation area. Dear Monroe County Auditor, Town of Ellettsville Common Council, and all overlapping taxing units in accordance with Indiana Code 36-7-14-39B5, capital letter B. The Town of Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission is hereby notifying you of the following determination that it has made concerning its tax allocation area for 2025 taxes payable 2026. The commission has determined that there is no excess assessed value that may be allocated to the overlapping taxing units in the manner prescribed in subdivision 1 of the act. So that needs to be signed by Jerry Hash, and this has to be approved or at least acknowledged at this meeting, and a copy of the letter will go to the auditor, the Monroe County Council, the Town Council, Monroe County Public Library, Richland Township, Richland Bean Blossom Community School Corporation, and Monroe County Solid Waste Management.
And that's resolution number 2025 dash.
That's not a resolution, this is just a separate document.
Okay.
That if the redevelopment commission would approve, or make a motion to approve the pass-through letter, is what it's called, the TIF pass-through letter, I'd appreciate it. And then I would get with Dr. Hash, make sure he gets it signed, and we can get it signed, and, or a copy rather, and sent to the overlapping taxing units.
Oh, we got
Great.
that. Okay, we're good.
I have a question on that. When they say excess assessed value, does that mean from neutralization, or is that saying that it is increased in value? Because I thought excess went to the TIF.
It does, and so what that means is once the TIF's bills are paid and obligations like bonds are paid, there's excess that goes to the overlapping taxing units. And because the town, the RDC hasn't borrowed anything, you're not owed it, you don't have any debts right now you have to pay, there's no excess. So it's standard and they have to send it, so.
So if we let the money accumulate for a couple years without a bond or whatever, how would that work? Because we don't want it distributed to the overlapping taxing.
That's a Baker Tilly question, but my understanding is there's no set formula or percentage to determine what the excess assessed value means. It means literally what's left over after your obligations are met by the RDC.
Okay, and if we say the obligations are X,
Yes.
gotcha, okay.
So yes, but that's a good point. It's not to be confused with what the RDC or what the TIF district will earn in increased value as development occurs. Those are different things.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion on that?
If you would, please, if there would, the RDC would make a motion to approve the pass-through letter, I would appreciate it.
I'll make a motion to approve the pass-through letter.
I'll second that.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Jerry Hash,
Yes.
Tom Corman,
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Carl Thurman,
Yes.
Trevor Sager, yes.
Okay.
Motion approved.
So other than that, the pass-through, for the shared entities, is there any other, because we passed the two districts, because we had to have those done first of the year?
You had to have them, at least a resolution passed to establish them at the end of last year.
Okay. Do we have any other formalities that we need to make sure are checked off to make sure we're all on the good side of legality going forward?
We may have a report due in August, but I'm not sure about that. So, but Baker Tilly calendars all this stuff for us, so if something's due, they'll let us know.
So far, we're good.
Yeah, so far you're good.
Perfect. Do we want to have a discussion on the resolution to clarify legal description?
Yes, I think we are in good stead right now. So, I did hear from the auditor's office literally about a little after 4 o'clock today. The auditor that's working on this for the RDC had an opportunity to look at Baker Tilly's revised map with the parcel numbers and the revised legal, and they are in agreement with I think not Baker Tilly, Bynum Faneuil and the auditor's office are now in agreement as to what's what in terms of parcel numbers and legal description. So typically, under the code, if there's an amendment to a declaratory or confirmatory resolution, the redevelopment commission can amend it, and it's required to follow the same procedure that it followed when it approved the declaratory resolution. In other words, amendment is passed by the RDC, goes to the planning commission, goes to the council, comes back to the RDC. I feel comfortable recommending that you do not have to do that in this particular situation after conferring a little more with the auditor and Bynum Faneuil, because the purpose of doing an amendment and having a public hearing and starting all over is for situations when you are expanding the area. You're expanding the TIF area, you're adding parcels, you're deleting parcels, you're changing the purpose of the TIF, and you're changing the economic development plan. Or you decided, for example, as you get into the TIF, that there's property in there that you want to acquire through eminent domain maybe, or have the town council acquire it for you by eminent domain. You're not doing any of that. All we're doing is we're making sure that the parcel numbers and the legal descriptions that were in the confirmatory resolution that you passed in February are aligning with each other. In other words, the example I used earlier today was it's sort of like doing a corrective deed to correct a scrivener's error. You're just kind of making sure everything lines up. So with that understanding, and with the understanding that you did not have a chance to look at this before this meeting, I would ask that you look at this before the next meeting. Exhibit A is going to be the revised legal. Exhibit B is going to be the revised map for the parcels. And what I think you should do is have another public hearing just to be on the safe side. just here at the RDC, just to make sure the public understands that you're doing the corrections in case somebody has an objection.
So this is more legal clarification as far as numbers go versus really changing anything that we've already
Correct.
approved.
Right.
Okay.
Right, you're not expanding the scope or the territory, the geographical outline of the TIF, we're just making sure that the parcel numbers and the legals within the TIF match. Because as we talked about it at meetings, some parcel numbers, the legal didn't always match the parcel, but it's, everything you've got here was within the scope of the original geographic delineation of what you wanted to include in this economic development district, or area, sorry.
And we are, it's been confirmed, we are able to put in a TIF district Richland Township properties that are not in the town?
I think they are in the town. I looked at it and Denise looked at it. I think the Richland Township Trustee's Office, Campbell's Park, and the Weaver property, they are in the town.
Well, but we still have parcel numbers that are not in the town on this. And I think they were the right-of-ways that we talked
Yeah, we
about.
talked about last time.
Yeah,
It could be the right-of-ways, but the auditor wanted those in there.
Right.
But the actual parcels for the Township Trustee, Campbell's Park, and the Weaver property, those are in the town.
all right, but we're voting on it with those Richland Township properties
Yes.
in there.
Yes.
And
They are
that's what's,
within the corporate limits. I think there was some question, there's some properties close to Weaver that are not in the town, and maybe that's where the confusion came in, but
yeah, but because areas K, L, and M both have parcels not in the town.
all I can say is the auditor has approved the legal, and she's approved the plat, so. And Denise and I double checked because I remembered your comments from the last meeting, and those three that you asked about are within the corporate limits of the town.
Can we find out why they're not listed by the property designation as being in the town corporate limits then?
What do you mean? They're 5304, 10400.
No, 5304, 10, 100, 007.001 -011
The bottom one on KL.
on K, L, and M.
Okay, under K, L, and M, the first property listed up there in each column is.
Yeah, the first property listed is within the town
Weaver-
limits.
Right, K is Weaver, L is the trustee's office, and M is Campbell's Park, and those are the first parcel numbers under each column.
Correct, but like the fourth one in area K, second one in area L, and the third one in area M show they're outside of town limits.
Well, under area K, the one ending in 011 is the right-of-way, state of Indiana right-of-way, Darla, that we talked about earlier. That's next to the Weavers.
Right, I'm not doubting that, but they're either in the town and we have jurisdiction or they're not. I mean, I guess we need clarification. Do we have jurisdiction on any, even right-of-ways outside of the town?
My understanding is if they're outside the town, you don't unless you enter into some sort of agreement between, say, the town and the county to exercise some concurrent jurisdiction. I can go back to the auditor again and ask why she wanted certain right-of-ways included, but
And I think what I remember is Mr. Ellis was concerned that, 15 years down the road,
Right.
if there was a concern about the constitution of the TIF, we would want to come back and bite us at that point. So I understand his concern. And it may just be that it's a formality, but sometimes they'll bite you.
Annex those parcels? I mean, if they're just right-of-ways, the county shouldn't have any issue with us annexing them. Because it'll be net tax. I don't know if we have any statutory authority to pass a TIF outside of our jurisdiction. That's really all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there's three parcels that's. And this is just for the downtown TIF, or do we have?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, because with regard to the west side, remember,
It was the
the auditor
018s.
and Vine Fanyo agreed that after each
Right.
of them looked at it again, that everything was fine except for that one parcel that was delineated as parcel C, which is
Right.
not gonna be included.
Okay.
Right.
I just like, for my own purpose, to get some clarification that our right-of-ways treated separately, kind of within our jurisdiction, even though they're not in our town inventory. Or, I mean, and because I can't see on this map where exactly that parcel, those three parcels are. I agree, I think when we looked at it before, they were, pretty much what you would call right-of-ways, but
Okay, I will circle back around. And we'll get it fixed before the resolution is up for your consideration at the next meeting.
Could you repeat on those K, L, and M? What geographically, what do those correlate with? You guys said Weaver Place, Campbell's Park, and one other.
K is Weaver, L is the trustee's office, and M is the park.
Okay. And the concern is if this isn't correct, down the road, it could make the resolutions we made insolvent because we've not
I don't know
followed
what it could do.
protocol.
But I mean, it's like if the county passed a TIF and there was Ellettsville parcels in there, we wouldn't be thrilled with that.
No, I get it.
So,
And like you said, it's very unlikely that anybody's ever going to develop
Right.
anything on a right-of-way, but you just like to have it as neat as possible.
Well, I guess even if it's the case and everybody, it is okay, we could put an asterisk by it and make a note that it's actually not Ellettsville properties, right?
I don't know though if we'd have any statutory authority to have any jurisdiction over properties we don't.
Makes sense.
Right. Again, I don't know. I'm not saying declaratively we don't. Right-of-ways could be treated separately. And the other option is we annex them. Bring them into the town inventory.
So is that something that we can come back to, that, okay.
I'll fix it in the resolution.
Are you looking for a table motion then on this?
No, because this was just on the agenda as a discussion item. So it'll be on the next agenda as a
Vote.
item for action.
I want clarification for that.
Now,
Sounds
Darla,
good.
on this, were you thinking of just removing those three parcels after, if the auditor says they just wanted the right-of-ways just for fun, or?
Well, I don't know because I need to get back with the auditor and Vine Fanyo to find out more precisely why those were included in the first place.
Okay.
All right. And how much of a hassle is it going to be to remove them, yeah.
I don't think it'd be a hassle to remove it from this resolution, but,
Down the road it would be.
right.
Yeah.
And they may have just wanted them for map drawing purposes, not necessarily,
Right.
I mean,
Right. Is that saying about the devil in the details?
yeah. Not trying to cause problems where there's not any,
Right,
but it
right.
just, I
Well,
don't know.
just for, I get a clarification.
Right.
100%. And did we get anywhere further, I forgot what the discussion was last time, about getting these TIFs eventually put on some type of map where we can actually look at it and really, not just for us, but for eventually for the floor too, where people could actually look at it and really feel where it's at or know where it's at? Because I look at some of these things and I get it, but it's a little bit of a blur of exactly what is in that TIF, where I think eventually if we're going to present it, we present it to the public or the floor every time, that at least for us, I'm saying for me, but for the public, which is me, the idea of having these somehow where, there's roads and landmarks and something put on these map or an overlay where someone can really look at it and say, oh, I see exactly what that is. Because
Yes.
yeah. So just a thought, just to, again, the more I understand, the more the public understands, the easier it is to pass these things and feel good about them.
You see how those maps in there, get your tip on it.
Well, they
You want small ones, you can,
No, we're talking about like a plat map, right? Or do you want?
I remember now they mentioned it at one point.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have a couple in there.
They want.
Like a,
Yeah,
something up on the
you
easel.
wanna look at them.
Yeah.
Well, or something, that, like I said, if again, we're having something to notice the floor and they want to say, well, what is that? Then they don't, I don't get these numbers all the time, but if we could put on one of the screens and they could go up and look at it even after the meeting or during the meeting and say, oh, I see, I'm over here, not what is 20.701.001.37.
No,
Yeah, okay.
you want next to the old barn.
Yes, you got it, you got it. And if it's something that's possible, if it's not, it's not. But again, I want everything to be as user-friendly as possible so we can continue to make sure we're all on the same page.
And we do have a couple examples in the next room.
Okay.
Spread out if we have, looks like we might have some extra.
Actually, they've been moved to my office.
Is that something that's available? Say we come in 10 minutes before a meeting that we can look at that?
Yeah, sure.
You know where they're at? You know where they're at?
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, you can't get them for this meeting, but.
Yes, which is fine.
Yeah, this is fine.
Which is fine. Just
You can get them
reference.
For the after meeting.
Yeah, we'll just reference. Even if, like I said, the floor comes in, they want to see it. We at least can say, here it is, not here's this thing, and they're going to come back and say, no, it is. Yeah, okay. I can't either. All right, so are we finished with our resolution? We're going to get some clarification so that next time we can have the clarification before we vote to approve it. And then that leads us to privilege to the floor.
You're the floor.
Any comments, thoughts, questions, or online? Is anybody online for us to?
Anybody on the-
No, okay. So that leaves us to commissioner comments. Anything else, or do we have any open discussion, anything else anybody would like to bring up, or is a concern, or?
Just scheduling wise, did we talk about missing the next one because
Yeah.
town council's
We
moving?
we don't have a meeting next.
23rd,
23rd, so the next meeting will be on the
14th.
14th.
Yeah, so everybody's next meeting on this board will be the 14th.
If we need one, right?
Right. Which it sounds like we may with some adjustments. Yeah.
I guess I could bring one thing up. Where, someone help me with this, I know we spoke about it. Where were we on, I know we were holding with these two TIFs that we had, but at one point we talked about just opening up our entire town? What was it, I think we discussed holding on to it to a certain day, or is that something that we want to eventually get back on our calendar?
I think we really were talking about the business strip out of town, right? I mean,
Yes.
We weren't talking about the neighborhoods or anything like that.
Well, I mean, you could TIF them, but we wouldn't be doing a residential TIF. I
Right,
mean,
right,
yeah,
so-
yeah.
So, but we really, to confine what we were thinking, it was the commercial
Correct.
That quarter? 'cause-
avenue corridor all the way out there.
Yeah.
So we're not
Including
anywhere with
McDonald's?
it. We need direction or the board to say we want to look into it.
Well, it seems to me when it comes to development, that's another area that will continue to develop until it's packed, and to wait until it's fully developed doesn't really defeats the purpose, correct? From
Kind
a
of.
TIF standpoint?
Well, you need a reason for, you want a TIF because something wouldn't happen
Right.
I
if you
got you.
didn't have a TIF. I can't think how they put it, but basically,
If not for the TIF, I think
Yeah,
these
yeah.
areas wouldn't develop. But I can see Darla thinking, she's probably thinking, there's a way to legally use this.
Well, you could still do things to make that corridor
More
still more
attractive.
appealing and open where people want to build and do more things on there.
Sure, pathway, maybe a bridge,
Mhm.
pedestrian bridge over the highway. You know, I mean,
With all that extra money we'll have.
No, I agree. But like I said, if it's not anything that we're in agreement with, I'm fine, just food for thought, but
I've wanted to do that for 4 years now, but at the same time, I just don't know. I mean, I guess we would have to really, this tax revenue, well, it'd be growth, but I guess we just have to be really careful and strategic in making sure that we do it kind of on our town boundaries, at least to the east settle, because otherwise you're going to have to keep reopening and reestablishing the TIF as it grows.
well,
That's my thought.
and I just say that we're more limited going that way, which would make us, I'm not saying we couldn't go that way, but
Right.
we're more limited. The chances of us growing that way are
Right.
slim and.
There's a
maybe
couple
none.
parcels here and there, but not like any real big openings. Unless we want to TIF to the jail.
well, the thought is there not, if we don't tip something or we don't get involved in it, can Bloomington come and move it this way? Because
No.
okay. That's my only thought, is just trying to do things and make sure we have a little bit of say-so and control on helping these things grow and be, and grow in an Ellettsville fashion.
Right.
So, okay.
I mean, I can think of 5 things I'd want to do with TIF money right off the bat.
Right.
Along that corridor. Yeah, because I'd say token, if you're looking at the lots there, and it's a grass overgrown whatever area, and you're looking at having someone come in and put a decent business there, even a nicer business, I would think if, I don't know, if the sidewalks were nicer, would it give us some ability to make that growth, I don't know, more upscale and nicer than just not tiffing it and it, I don't know, I would like to see improvements, not the same old thing.
Well, it would be nice if it was more pedestrian friendly and maybe bicycle friendly, where people could ride to an establishment as opposed to driving. I mean, you know, eventually, I know a person that's thinking about trying to get a golf cart ordinance through the town board, but I won't mention their names. But anyway, so something like that would change the dynamics of who could visit, this, that, and the other as far as business. So it could be an economic driver having, you know, a pathway through there as opposed to the sidewalk, which is kind of intimidating when you stand there, even with the slowed
Yes.
down speeds. So between that and we definitely need to bridge something where people can get from one side to the
I
other.
agree, that will eventually, not win, that will eventually be a major accident.
Yep.
So I agree with you 100%. I like the idea, because same token, if we're gonna have downtown river district, is that what we're calling it? And we're gonna make I can't wait to see it happen and the new life and things become more vital downtown. But same token, why not have it where people that live further out in Ellettsville and the different additions can get there, like you said, without
Right.
getting in a car?
Right.
Well, what I don't know is the unintended consequences of having that all tipped out.
Sure.
Well, one of the unintended consequences is the school, even though they need, it's, you know, they get it from residential TIF, there's also, it kind of, I don't know what term to use, but the commercial TIF also helps offset some of the losses that they would normally get from,
Sure, and
So-
if it drives growth, then you
We
know,
could always
have a
share.
pass-through or
Right.
something like that. I mean, it's neutral to what's going on now, because
Correct.
we still get those taxes.
Yeah.
So there's a way that
we could do it, but I'm just saying we'd have to make sure.
I think we're all in agreement with that we want, I know we talked about it a little bit before, we alluded to it, that we're all in supporting the school system and making sure that we're able to continue to funnel what we can legally to the school system so they can continue to grow as the town grows. But my thought is, you know, I drive through here, you do all the time too, and the grass is long and this is beat up, and that you know, is if we do some nicer roads or sidewalks down the road, and you know, I know coming out of my house, I'd love to take a walk or a bike ride and go all the way down to, you know, Smith Road or, you know, and just keep going. You know, I think that'd be great. Or if we TIF it, would we take care of it? How does that work? Like the grass and the sidewalks and that type of thing?
Well, a lot of the sidewalks and the grass you mentioned is an NDOT right away.
Right.
But NDOT says it's on us to maintain through town, to maintain all the shrubs and trees and this, that, and the other. So that's on us. Even some curb work and this, that, and the other, they keep telling us we're supposed to take care of it. But if we take care of it, we gotta ask them before we do it. But
Yeah.
so there is some, I mean, we're mowing most of the throughway now along the NDOT right away. They don't mow it. And in fact, we got permission to mow at Arlington and 46, where Arlington used to come. There's a little roundabout up there. So we're taking care of that just so it's not unsightly, because they's mowing it twice a year. So, I mean, there's another place where, you know, as we progress, if you will, maybe a gateway attraction as you come into town, you know.
A big bridge, welcome to Ellettsville on it.
Oh, I'm up for that one. It's, you know, it's great to have.
Something like that. I mean, you know, we could show off our limestone heritage. We got a guy in town that owns a company that knows all about limestone. So
We can make it a toll road too.
I mean, it could be attraction. I'm always talking about creating gravity for the town where everybody wants.
Well, you don't
to
pull
come.
it. That's what I was thinking, is that the River District, where I'm looking forward to making this a really place to go or destination. But the idea of making it a clean entrance on either side to make people want to come and check it out, I think that's a positive.
We're only limited by the word can't. So.
So at this point, I'm hearing it doesn't make sense to go further east currently.
No, I'm not saying,
I heard the other. I thought I heard
yeah,
something else.
I mean, I'm for it. I just think that it's something that, I mean, for me, we're just getting our feet, just jumping in with these. My concern is if we do all of it, the time to do that, if we would have started with that, would have been one thing. But, I mean, I don't know if we'd have multiple TIFs, if we did expand this one. And I don't know if it would accomplish what you're looking for, like having better maintained sidewalks or grass cut, because the money would still have to, in other words, the pots would almost be the same.
Tips for capital improvements, it's not for maintenance.
Right.
So we might create a situation where we would create more work for our field crews, but, you know, it's a trade-off. I mean,
Right.
Okay.
We're always gonna be behind the curve on growing and then having the sources to take care of it. But I don't think it precludes thinking a TIF might be a good idea. Because
Right.
It will not have the ability to build a trail any other way through that area. And a trail or a bicycle path or, you know, anything that would allow people to feel like they could cruise the area on bikes or anything like that. They're just not going to do it unless we create an atmosphere where that feels comfortable. And it does go along with the fact that we're right by the Greenway Trail back through the county and our new trail. And eventually, hopefully, we'll have a trail all the way to McCormick Creek Park. I mean, Denise and I are on a committee to work through that process someday. So you have to start thinking about that stuff and not accept the way it is now. And the way it is right now is either you're going to somebody's parking lot or you're kind of excluded from utilizing the highway as somewhere you could leisurely go to one of the establishments.
I think they're great attractions, but I agree. I think the idea of making the public know and making it easily accessible, and like you said, the idea of like sometimes I will say when I go on the east side of town, I see a lot of people running and bikes and out. It makes me feel like, oh, I want to stop here and hang out here. This is great. This place has a lot of activity, and I love the idea of encouraging activity in Ellettsville and around Ellettsville to get people walking and meeting each other on the trails and doing some of that stuff. And so anything we can do to progress that along, I think that's a positive for the kids, the students, the schools, the people that want to move here. It becomes another attraction of why you want to move to Ellettsville. You know, they've got these great trails and these things set up for us to use and utilize.
Yeah, if density grows, the pressure financially for people to try to utilize some of the properties down through there and maybe age out some of the buildings that are there now and capitalize on where they're at, the fact that the town's growing and it's a major thoroughfare, the pressure's there that say there's going to be improvements along that route for the next 10, 20 years. And what we don't imagine is going to happen anyway. So if you look at already what's going on through town, you know, there's no reason to believe we haven't missed out on some of that money now. And that's just going to keep happening over and over and over again. I know, you know, there's bites on properties along there all the time. They want to do this or they want to do that. But that hasn't all materialized. But the activity and the thought is out there already. Who thought 5 years ago we'd finally have a brand new building being built right in downtown Ellettsville? When you go home tonight, when you're going eastbound, there's a brand new. I can't remember the last time I seen naked lumber going up along the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway.
Yeah, not a truck dumping, tearing stuff down and taking it away, but some new stuff coming in.
Yeah.
But that's my thought. Again, and I don't want to jump the gun or again, get us precariously ahead of ourselves or whatnot. But my thought always, and I may be incorrect with the idea of the TIF, is we want to jump on the bandwagon before all the improvements have been made to be able to use some of that tax money to even entice people to come in and do more versus wait till it's already done and then you've missed the boat.
Well, we're here to do things wisely and make things happen. And I mean, that's what we're here for.
I would just like to see the engineer we'd hire to say where they can put these trails. I bet they'll find a place, but that'd be fun to see where they'd go.
So where is and I do get where you're saying if we don't have the boundaries exactly set in black and white, where we can't really try to do a eastward TIF if we don't know where that's going to end up. Is that what you were discussing?
Yes, I mean, because I think Indiana members and RBs in the Smith Pike Crossing, they're not in the town, but that's something that's on our radar. McDonald's is not in the town. That's something that's on our radar. Those are high AV, very big. I mean, that's something we would want to make sure we capture.
Right, if we start something now, those wouldn't be included. You have to go back and do a modification. But did you tell us before that once we have one started, if there's changes you can modify it, or if you got to modify, you got to start all over?
You have to start all over, meaning the procedure that you went through to get these resolutions passed. You come up with a declaratory resolution, it goes to Plan Commission, it goes to council, and then it comes back here for a public hearing. And you can pass, modify, or confirm or modify the resolution.
Okay, so it wouldn't preclude us from being able to add those modifications once they were done,
No, it's
but it
just
would
that-
add expense.
Right.
Well, yeah, you have that statutory procedure you have to go through. If you're going to enlarge your TIF district.
Which probably we also still have to hire somebody to draft all that, correct? Even though they're just adding on a couple parcels, or is that something we can do in-house?
I guess it depends on why you're adding it, and, you know, Baker Tilly would probably want to weigh in as to what the impact is gonna be, so,
Okay.
yeah. It depends, I
Yeah.
suppose, on how large the parcels are, and,
I'd just like us to get those into the town inventory
That makes sense.
as first, and that, because it'd be real clear to say to Smith Pike Road.
Yes.
I mean, and,
I think I mentioned in an earlier meeting that, I found there was one community that has, you can have just one parcel in a TIF district, and there's a community, I don't know if it was down in Madison, but they had one parcel that was just a youth sports playground, and that was the sole purpose of that TIF district, was just for that park.
and that's a good idea.
Mike, do you know
when phase 2 and 3 of the flood mediation will begin?
Should stick around for the next meeting. We're gonna talk about phase 2, and at some point, it's gonna be talked about tonight. I expect some public comment on it. Obviously, the rain caused some problems. And so phase 2 would be the McNeely Bridge. And so I'll probably be chewing this gum again, but, I think, if you will, that when the bridge was rebuilt, I can't even remember what year it was, but when it was rebuilt, it created a dam, if you will, on the approach on the north side of the bridge, and we think box culverts need to go in there. People like me, I can think it, but it doesn't really mean anything, but Christopher Burke, who did our engineering for the first phase, that's their recommendation, and I think we may want to spend some money sooner than later and get in a position where we either find the money or figure out a way to move forward, but we need to have that plan in our hands, so we're going to talk about it too.
Do we need county cooperation for that?
We do.
Okay.
And I'll be looking for some documents that goes back to when that bridge was built. And, long and short of it, if you was here before the bridge was rebuilt, it used to have a dip in on the north side. And you used to be able to take a motorcycle, and it was such a dip, you could jump the bridge. And so when...
Dukes of Hazzard stuff.
So it actually went down like that. So before they fixed the bridge, when it would flood down there, the water just bypassed over the road. And you'll see a lot of trails and trail bridges and things like that, and there's some in the county where it's designed to go over the road at a certain point, not back up. That did not happen at the McNeely Bridge. If you go down there anytime it floods, you can see it happen, but like I said, I can say that, it doesn't mean anything, but Christopher Burke, who's, that's what they do, they're hydrologists, engineers, and that is in their report that we had paid for. So I think sooner or later, there'll be that first or second step. And it's going to be part of the conversation at the regular meeting.
Okay.
For clarification then, on getting these other parcels in or out of our, not jurisdiction, but what, who does that? Because you were saying that we wanted to wait till those parcels were included or not included to consider the east side TIF. Who makes those decisions, and how long of a process is that? Does that make sense? Am I, okay.
Doesn't it determine whether they fight the annexation or do it super voluntary? I mean, so assume it's super voluntary, what would be the process for doing it, Denise?
So there'd be a petition they would complete and then confirm that they're eligible to come in. There's a formula. And they'd go through the plan commission, get a recommendation from the plan commission, and town council has the final say in it.
I know that McDonald's, the owner there that owns that franchise, he's willing to come into the town. We've just had some difficulty, I guess, getting in touch with him. But I've had conversations with him, and he said, yeah, just get me what I need to do so I can come into the town.
I've not been back to talk to him about it, to know about it.
Okay, you haven't caught up with him yet, or?
Well, you give me a number.
Right. The address probably won't, well, it's the one in Alabama. I don't know if that would work, but probably that's a corporate address. I don't know if it'll just sit on a desk or not. He may have a better address.
Yeah, that's where he owned McDonald's before he got these.
Yeah. But I can work on getting you an address. And he's not called back. Yeah.
And then, so is there a list of the parcels we need to contact people on to see?
Well, that would be the
If we
town, it'd be the town council, I think. I don't think.
Which is totally fine, but I'm saying
Yeah, I
if
don't
we're
think
gonna
we can
sit
do
on
anything,
it,
right.
I would like to know what needs to happen, who needs to make it happen in a time frame before we come back and revisit it. And if we need to make some motions to see if we can request nicely that whoever needs to help so we can get back to adding this. Or if it looks like it's gonna be a year, 2 years, or we can't get a hold of anybody, then to me, it makes sense to go ahead and do the TIF on the east side and add them or modify when this happens. So I think from a time frame standpoint, if it can be done in 6 months, then we hold off. But if it's gonna look like it's going nowhere, we need to go ahead and establish that TIF.
I concur.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, we got 2 board members here, so all we have to say, get that done.
Okay.
And then we'll help get Darla help draft a letter and send it to them on legal paper. Maybe we'll get some.
So is there a way to, because I know my memory's not that well, you guys may be able to do it, but is there a way to have that on our agenda like in 3 months to pull that back up and say, where are we on the process of getting these parcels added? Because I don't want to bring it up, you know me, I'll bring it up every single meeting, and you guys will say, we've already heard that, I don't want to do that, but if we have a time frame where we could add it back to our agenda.
Yeah, I'm sure we could. Well, if not, we could just, after a couple of meetings, if you haven't heard anything, bring it up again. And in the meantime, I'll reach out to Abram at McDonald's, try to get a good service address so he'll actually receive it. Is that what you need, Darla?
Sure, I could send him a letter. I could check the Secretary of State's office and see what they have on file.
Okay.
They just have his registered agent here, but they may have something else.
Yeah, I do
listed.
think he would, and this is just my feeling, I think he wants to have the conversation first. I just worry if we send him a letter, it's gonna look like, whoa, yes.
You want to send an invitation first, right?
Yes.
Makes sense.
Some Mylar balloons.
Well, he's already agreed he'll do it. He just needs to know the nuts and bolts. And I don't know if he's probably, being a businessman, he's probably gonna wanna know, how much more am I gonna pay?
Yes.
That's probably the
How's it
bottom
gonna
line.
affect me?
Yes.
I get it, that's
so-
fair. Yep. All right, so the flood mitigation stages, are you good on your answers or the discussion on
I'll
that?
have to
Okay.
listen to the next meeting.
Okay. Anybody have any other thing to discuss before we adjourn? No? All right. With that in mind, we'll go ahead and adjourn the Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission meeting for Monday, June 9th, 2025. The next meeting will be July 14th. Thank you.